Me get up this afternoon to make my first sectoral speech for my portfolio.
Hold on. Standing orders. And I think you are fully aware. And if I have to stop you again during your presentation, you will not get any additional time. No, and she knows. Standing order 6, page 3.
When I speak to this
Representation and culture. That's Spanish.
Madam Speaker, here allow me to speak. A leader. Madam Speaker, perhaps I should abandon that attempt to use our local language because I have been reminded of the linguistic conventions of this Honorable House. Because maybe there is no more fitting way to begin a presentation on culture than to speak briefly in the language understood by the overwhelming majority of Jamaican people. Even if that language still struggles for full acceptance in some of our most formal national spaces, including this very parliament. So let me give you the Queen's English. Let me give you the Queen's English. At the outset, permit me first to thank the Leader of the Opposition, the Most Honourable Mark Golding, for the confidence he has placed in me through this portfolio assignment. I also thank my parliamentary colleagues.
Greetings, my Jamaican people. Welcome back to my YouTube channel once again. And before I continue, I will kindly request that you hit the like, subscribe, and the share button, as this will go a long way in supporting my channel. Well, in today's episode, I will be talking about a rather interesting topic, and that is the outright discrimination that the Jamaican Patois language is experiencing at the country which is rightfully its birthplace. A recent scenario happened during a parliamentary session where getting to see opposition MP Burchell was immediately shut down by the House of Representatives Speaker Juliet Holness when she began her maiden sectoral debate using Patois language, given the fact that her docket is actually related to culture, and using the most popular language in Jamaica will be quite a way of making a proper impression. Even despite of this, you're getting to see she was still shut down by Juliet Holness, something that has caused massive debate. As if you go back to history, you'll notice that there is a certain time where State Minister Orlando Terrelong was allowed to use Spanish in welcoming visiting Cuban delegates, that is in Jamaican Parliament. And so in today's episode, we are going to view how Jamaicans are reacting to this and why is Jamaican Patois highly discriminated in Jamaica. Kindly watch the rest of this episode while I come with my in-depth analysis at the end of it.
The speaker said no Patois. Patois, that is Jamaican language. But somebody is allowed to speak Spanish in Parliament. But then again, rules are rules, right?
Member of Parliament Nekeisha Burchell attempted to speak Patois in the House of Parliament and was shut down immediately. But why? That's the question. Why? But at the same time, in the same breath, why was Spanish allowed to be spoken not so long ago in the House of Parliament? Warmington had a fit about it.
Jamaica siga siendo un buen vecino y amigo a la gente y el gobierno.
Don't cut up my mic. Don't cut up, please.
Member, I did not turn your mic on at all. Could you start from the beginning?
I'm not aware of what he's saying. I don't speak Spanish. Understand in all that is written. For this house, you must speak in English and English only. Okay? Are you supposed to learn Spanish and come back?
So why was it allowed by the Speaker of the House in one instance but not in the other? And then in general, why is Patois not allowed in the House of Parliament? But before I continue, as usual, ensure that you like, follow, share, and comment. I'm creating a community of full thinkers. Ensure you follow me on all social media platforms at KeyThoughts876. So, firstly, why was Nekeisha Burchell shut down by the Speaker of the House, Juliet? Well, simple. Speaking Patois in Parliament is against the standing orders, and the standing orders are the laws that govern Parliament. It's the code of conduct for Parliament. Standing orders. That's what the proceedings of the House goes by, right? So, and if you have been listening to the conflicts that happen in Parliament, or just in general listen to Parliament all the time, you'd hear persons talk about standing orders, right? That's what they are. So, according to the standing orders, the only language should be spoken in Parliament is English. So now we reach the point where you might be asking, if you're curious or if you simply just don't know, why was Spanish allowed to be spoken just last year when Spanish-speaking dignitaries here? The Foreign Minister at the time was given permission. It was a diplomatic courtesy, so to speak. So you can be granted permission to speak another language in rare instances. In instances where you have, again, in that case, it was a foreign dignitary. So they were allowed to translate in Spanish to them. It's like you have somebody that come over your house from foreign and you clean up, basically. Or you have somebody that come over from foreign, so you find out what food them like and cook it, basically. No, here's the more damning part of it. Why is English allowed to be spoken and not Patois? And yes, I told you, yes, the standing orders, but why the standing orders do not allow Patois? Frankly, colonialism. That's literally it. Yeah. Remember, the British monarchy is still the head of our country.
Hearing someone saying Patois only belongs in certain spaces isn't surprising, and that is not what made me cross and angry and miserable. What makes me cross, angry and miserable is observing the hypocrisy in the comment section. Because throughout my maybe decade now of preaching the importance of Patois and why it is completely demoralizing for a country to define its speech by bad. Some of these people were in the comment section saying the same thing, Patois has its place and time, etc. But why should a language derivative of conversations of their ancestors be described as bad or only having a place or time, while the language of the people involved for the capture and the theft and the colonization and the criminalization of these people be allowed anytime, anywhere? It is not just this, but consider the fact that someone who speaks a Patois, which is more deep rural than other forms of Patois, their speech is immediately described as chat bad. If you are someone who believes that Patois is a place or time, or you believe in this chat bad Patois concept, it's not that you're smarter than everyone else, because some of you can form a sentence with proper subject-verb agreement. It's just that colonization has won you. That's the only thing, because the only way for you to believe that something that you do naturally is bad is if someone outside of you has told you that this is bad. But this concept of chat bad Patois and that Patois belongs in a certain space only didn't evolve in a vacuum. This is a result of the treatment of European language and culture and style as superior, while African-derived languages were thought to be inferior and a definition of low intelligence. Here are 10 ways in which colonial thinking influenced the notion that European languages are better and that African-derived languages and other native languages around the world are inferior. One, under colonial rule, English, they make English as a language of power. So English get you in a government, politics, organization, and what is considered to be professionalism, while our language was marginalized. Two, the deliberate suppression of West and West Central African languages. Remember, so we come here now, man, only language we're talking up until the 1800s, Jamaica was a multilingual place. But they placed English at the top and they prevented us from speaking our language along with our religion and other aspects of our culture. Three, the proper English narrative. Colonial education taught people that speaking proper English was the way of advancement and way of intelligence. And even today, there are some Jamaican parents who tell their kids not to chat Patois and only to speak proper English because they make them brighter and more intelligent and better than somebody who chat Patois. Four, them call it broken English. Instead of acknowledging Patois as its own language, them call it broken English. It can't be broken English if most of it was other language and them use the English or them know if it fit in the spaces. Call it broken English, give it a level of respect that was below any other language that came about, whether it was English or Hindi or Mandarin or Hakka or anything. Five, enough pitney were punished for speaking Patois. I mean beaten. Many children throughout our history were punished and beaten and given detention, etc. for teaching Patois. This especially happened in rural Jamaica. I don't know about Kingston and St. Andrew. Number 6, this I don't know. But European culture, them treat it like standard, you understand? So Pitney and the uncle say, yo, the name alone, but the Patois alone, but Patois also associated with the name. So by giving them Pitney like proper British names or proper English names, this kind of weaken the effect of language, of the Jamaican language, by Jamaicans not being able to give their kids the names of their ancestors who came from West and Central Africa. 7, social mobility became connected to sound in British or English. If you hear the Upper St. Andrew accent now, the Upper St. Andrew accent is an accent that if you take it down slowly, if you break it down slowly, you can hear the British accent. Those are the people who continue to speak and emulate the British after they left. And that's why there's this class division. And even though you may have somebody speaking Upper St. Andrew and somebody speaking like deep rural, if you're laughing at both, you're laughing at both for different reasons. You're laughing at the Upper St. Andrew accent because it's posh and nice, but you're laughing at somebody who chat Patois because you believe it's uneducated and bad. 9, we connect colorism and language. First of all, if somebody have a lighter skin, you expect them to speak proper English. And if you put your brown and come from Jamaica, you're going to teach them, say, boy, no, so you're too pretty for talk, so, you know? And if somebody dark skin and speak proper English, oh, you're bright and you're well-spoken for your black pitney or for your dark skin pitney. Go back to 8. Patois accepted for entertainment, but not for leadership. This is the perfect one. Even though Jamaica, people come at Jamaica for the Patois and the culture. You understand? It's okay if we talk Patois, if we are make people enjoy themselves and for act a fool per se, but not necessarily. But when it comes for being in the same industry, somebody who manages people who talk Patois in them entertainment also, them have to talk standard English. Because even though people come for see this and Jamaican Patois, the hotbed, our people come here for see, we still don't believe that it's worthy enough of being in a capacity of leadership spoken by the person who run the business. And 10, different standards. Somebody who chat Patois, chat bad, or somebody who talk deep rural Patois, chat bad. However, if there's somebody being interviewed on TV, whether it's an athlete or somebody in any professional position, not that there's anything wrong with making grammatical error, because that's just a part of life. But somebody who dep on TV attack and them have no subject verb agreement, they must say a lot of things which aren't grammatically correct. Those people will be called well-spoken, even though they are grammatically incorrect and would be chatting bad English. But a person who chat Patois are the person who chat bad and wrong. In conclusion, this conversation is not about rejecting the English language or anyone who speaks it. English is a part of our history too, albeit unfortunate, but this conversation is recognizing the legitimacy of the language that comes out of our mouth whenever we speak naturally, whether it regards to culture or education or any aspect of our daily lives. And if something comes from people naturally, that means there should be no guardrails on saying that has its place. It's the other thing that should be said has a place and time. People should never be taught to feel ashamed about the language that carries their humor, their pain, their joy, and them view upon the world. This isn't about diminishing English. A nation can value both of them. But one deserves more protection and respect than the other. And Patois doesn't make someone less able to speak the English language. There are many people in the world who speak multiple languages, who are bilingual and multilingual. And even though there's no linguistic study that shows that learning Patois will interfere with English, I'm sure some of you who are so in favor of your colonial history will try to use that argument to refute everything I just said. And as humble as I am, may I go express some confidence for the first time. If anyone should be listened to on this matter, it should be me. Because I know what I'm talking about when it comes to language. The funny thing is, most of them respect me for my multilingual skills, but not for Patois. Showing that we don't believe in the Jamaican saying, we have to dance a yard before you dance abroad. No for respect a dance, we go on abroad, but not the one we go on a yard. Big up.
The Speaker of the House said, you knew better. And she said it 2 times. She said, she knows better. You knew better.
I knew better than to not represent my culture, for the people of Jamaica to not hear their language, to hear themselves in Parliament. I don't.
I was asked a question about Dr. Brown Burke's lifting the mace. And I said in response that if you don't have rules and order, there will be chaos. Yes. I accept that some of those rules probably shouldn't be there, but they are there. So why don't you follow the rules that are there, and then when the time comes, if possible, change them? But why the rules are there, why don't you follow them?
So when is the time? And when
Well, you should tell me that when
exactly,
the time is.
Which is why I raised that mirror for parliamentarians, for legislators, to look at themselves. Is this how you want to represent your parliament and your people in 2026? That was me disrupting it. That was me spurring the conversation to say it's time for change. And clearly Parliament wasn't ready for that conversation. But you know who's ready for it? The diaspora. Who's ready for it? Jamaica is ready for that conversation. And they're having the conversation. I get the controversy, but controversy is good. That is how culture evolves. I want Jamaicans, I want our children to be able to rigorously learn and speak the English language, but I want them to intelligently navigate the Jamaican language. I want them to own it, because language is confidence. I want our people, I want our children to confidently speak them Patois in a parliament, out of parliament, in official, informal spaces, in informal spaces. For Read Across Jamaica Day last week, I went to a couple of schools in my constituency. I didn't bring an English book about Spider-Man, Superman. I brought Jamaica Labrish by Louise Bennett. I brought Anansi Stories by Louise Bennett. And I was surprised a lot of the kids, they don't know who is Brother Tukuma. They don't know who is Big Boy. They don't know who is Anansi. We're losing it. And if we don't disrupt it, jolt society, then we're going to stay the same.
I would suspect, I don't know. But I've seen Parliament, and you're a part of the opposition. If a member of the government did something that's wrong in Parliament, I suspect the opposition will jump on board and say, hold on, you did something wrong.
Well, that's up for debate.
Hold on. The rules of Parliament say you must speak standard English. That's not up for debate. That's the Standard Order 6,
yes,
isn't it?
Yes, but we were in what is called a sectoral debate. And the rules of debate allow you to use literary devices. This was a disruptive communicative device where you use jargons, you use slangs, you use other languages. I was following the rules of English language itself, which gives you literary devices that you can use. I did not, however, challenge the Speaker's authority. She made her decision. She had an option. She had an option to do what she did, which was quite predictable, or she could have risen to the moment to say, for our culture, for a spokesperson on culture to come into our house and to confidently speak our language. I could allow 2 sentences because that's what she could have done as an enlightened leader. But
was your presentation written entirely in Patois?
Absolutely not. My first 2 sentences were written in Patois, again, for the shock value, to get the conversations going so that we can evolve our culture.
So I've been receiving a lot of challenges to my assertion that Jamaican Patois is in fact a language. And most people challenge this idea because obviously in Jamaican Patois, as it is popularly spoken, we use a whole heap of English word, a lot of English vocabulary. Where in linguistics, vocabulary is is called lexis. But there are other components of linguistics that define and give expression to what a language is. For example, phonology, the sounds, the basic units that make up the language. Morphology, the basic units of the language that actually convey meaning. For example, suffixes and prefixes. Syntax, how you bring the phonemes, the morphemes and the lexicon together to create sentences. Semantics, how all of the above is used to convey meaning. Pragmatics, how the language is functionally used in order to achieve particular goals in relation to communication. So from a linguistic point of view, when you subject Jamaican Patois and all of the various different creoles that we have in the Americas to that kind of linguistic analysis, the Africanness, the real Africanness of our languages is actually revealed. And one of the blockages to us appreciating this is the fact that we often refer to Jamaican Patois or our various different other patois as broken English or broken French. This is a colonial retention because it is considered to be the fact that English is the standard from which all things are judged. So anything that deviates from that standard is a diminishment of that standard, therefore broken English. For example, I had one comment that said it is broken English because we use English word and the English alphabet. First and foremost, there is no such thing as an English alphabet. The alphabet that is used to commonly write in English is derived from the Latin script. It's a Roman alphabet. And English is not a Roman language. And on that point, English is a language that has a lot of words in it from French and other Latin-derived languages, but it is still a Germanic language. Nobody don't call English broken French because it has all of a French word in there. So whilst there are English words in Patois, there are also words that are derived from many African languages, particularly coming from what is called the Niger-Congo basin, alright? So we have Tri, and Igbo, and Yoruba, and Efik, and Umbundu, and Kikongo, etc., etc. And the deeper you go into the Patois, into deep Patois and the Cromanti language, the more African word you're going to find. But when it comes to morphology, phonology, syntax, semantics, and pragmatics, when you line them up against these Niger-Congo languages, you'll start to see the alignments even stronger and even more emphasized. So in truth, the term broken English is a misnomer. In fact, it would be far more appropriate to refer to our various different patois as broken African, or at least broken Niger-Congo.
Jamaicans, I want our children to be able to rigorously learn and speak the English language, but I want them to intelligently navigate the Jamaican language. I want them to...
Enough people know if you read Patois, you have to talk about English in the same sentence. And you know why? I got to know why. Because some of them, Monday, we hate Patois. If you don't put English in the same sentence, they might come after you. But that's sure we say something wrong in the country. Because you can't even look on the camera and say, if you read Patois, without you turn on and say, oh no, if you know English. What make we have to know English? Think about it. What make we have to know English? If a man there France, and the man say, me love French. The man say, oh, but we have to know English. No. Nothing wrong with you know English. Yeah. What about we make you have to know English? Those people born, grow, and gone in Jamaica. We never chat English a day in their life. For me, great grandmother one of them people there. Never know English from the day she born till the day she gone. So you tell her say she have to know English? If you tap the fool in this, you know. Nobody know have to do nothing. If you want to do it, do it. If you want to do it so you can go foreign, do it. But you don't think say I want problem for you living in one country where you're born and chat one language. And somebody tell you say you have to learn one next language. If you just get by in the country, if you elevate in the country, if you live one normal life in the country, if people don't treat you like streg in one country. You see, when you do that thing there, put the English and the Patois in the same sentence, I still see a mental slavery. I just want different kind of mental slavery.
Because this is my profile, I can talk as much as I want on this, and so I will. I want to address this one as well, because I do remember, and big up to everybody who remembers communication studies. Was it communication studies? Com studies? In high school, in sixth form, when basically you talked about the baselect, the mesolect, and the acrolect, and you kind of learn about the different parts of the language continuum / spectrum. I don't know what it's called. But anyways, when I learned about that, and when I learned about how Patois as a language is kind of considered to be baselect, which is, I guess, the lower part of the language continuum / spectrum, it definitely unlocked something in me that I was like, you know what? We're going to make it a point then to use the Patois language to speak, to find a way to bring this language into, you know, either the Mesolect or the Atkalect, because I feel like as a language, it's something that we should celebrate, especially as a country in Jamaica. And I feel like it's always been, how can we talk the best Queen's English? How can we talk, I guess now it's the King's English, but how can we go about making it seem that the only people that speak Patois are the people that come from nothing, people that are not educated. And for me, I just feel like doing that degrades the language, which should be celebrated. So to this comment, I want to say that I think as a generation, Gen Z, that's my generation, the generations coming afterwards, even millennials and generations before me, Gen X, we have work to do in terms of unlearning this, in terms of unlearning, this idea of you're not allowed to speak it because you have to speak standard English. And I think that your grandparents will tell you that, your parents might tell you that. But I feel like as we grow up in Jamaica and as we recognize the importance and significance of our culture, not only in Jamaica but on a global scale, we have to be sure to preserve things like that, like our language. Because otherwise, if we feel like our language and we treat our language as if it is less than other languages and as if it is for the uneducated, that will be the perception of it as we go out to export our culture to the global world and the global economy. And what we want to do is ensure that as Jamaicans, we are celebrating what it is that makes us Jamaican. And I feel like a big part of what it is that makes us Jamaican, and not even feel like, I know that it is our language. Our language is something that we celebrate in culture. We grow up learning Miss Louise Bennett poems. We grow up reciting things, singing songs, and I feel like that is a big part of the heart of what makes us Jamaican, and therefore should be celebrated. So today, 2024, 2025, and going forward, we're celebrating Patois. We're celebrating people that speak Patois. We're celebrating Jamaican culture, Jamaican heritage, Jamaican language.
Jamaica siga siendo un buen vecino y amigo a la gente y el gobierno cubano. Nuestra historia y amistad ha sido lleno del apoyo de Cuba en muchos aspectos, especialmente.
Hold on a moment, member from St. Catherine Southwest. You are the standing orders were suspended in order to allow. No, not only, member. I'm not sure if you had stepped out of the chamber at the time, but leeway was granted by the speaker to allow specifically for him to speak in Spanish, to speak in a language. Yes, member.
Don't cut up my mic. Don't cut up, please.
Member, I did not turn your mic on at all. Could you start from the beginning?
I'm not aware of what he's saying. I don't speak Spanish. And the standing order that is written, for this house, you must speak in English and English only. I have no idea what he's saying. And I'm entitled to understand what is being said in this house by any member. I don't speak Spanish. And this said, I must hear it in English. Okay? Are you supposed to learn Spanish and come back?
Thank you for your intervention, member. So, members, he is correct in respect of the language allowed by Standing Order 6. However, the member asked previously and member, so he would have to speak in both language, English, and the same would be said in Spanish.
Well, if you've watched to this end, thank you once again, and let's get down to it. For most Jamaicans, Patois is one of the most common languages in Jamaica. Actually, it is spoken by 90% of the Jamaican population, and it just goes to surprise everyone that Patois is not officially recognized in Jamaica. Well, there are some reasons to this, and having a deep look at it, this actually goes back to the colonial era period, whereby Patois was considered to be broken English that couldn't be accredited or couldn't be given the linguistic attention and power that it necessarily requires. And so for beginners, you need to understand how did the Jamaican Patois, or most commonly known as Jamaican bilinguist, came into being. This was a language that was used by slaves brought to Jamaica, that is during the transatlantic trade period. And these slaves were taken from West African countries, and once they had settled it into the plantocracy system in Jamaica, they had to come up with a language of their own that would not enable their enslavers to understand whatever they were talking about. And you should also notice that these individuals came from different regions, and they had to come up with a common language that they personally would understand amongst each other. And so this is how the Jamaican Patois came into being, as it includes a mixture of the West African languages like Akan with some English parts into it. And with time, this Jamaican Patois was actually refined by the coming generations until the Jamaican Patois became a common language among the descendants of these former slaves. And you're getting to see that the colonizers were not happy with this, as they actually recognized this language as being broken English. And you're getting to see that this colonial hangover is still very much present in Jamaica today. As although Jamaica got its independence, that is in 1962, we are getting to see that the colonial framework that was used to guide and regulate the former slaves are still very active, and there has been minimal change made to these colonial rules. And you're seeing with how Jamaican Patois is being treated currently, and during the active parliamentary session, you are seeing Dr. Burchell being given standing orders by Speaker of the House of Assembly, that is Juliet Holness, showing that despite of the fact that the colonizer left, his laws and jurisdictions are still very active in Jamaica. And here is another interesting fact. Jamaican Patois, or simply Jamaican, is being taught at prestige universities as a language on its own. And it has actually been recognized as being a unique language on its own, just like Spanish, English, and any other language that you're getting to see. Active scholars have actually come out to teach it in prestigious university like the Harvard University, the University of West Indies, among others. And despite of the previous colonial description of Patois as being simply broken English, it is actually been proven that Patois is a unique language on its own, as it has its own grammatical rules and syntax that will necessarily not make it to appear as simply broken English, but rather a unique language on its own. But in Jamaica, Patois is actually experiencing its own persecution, despite of the fact that, as I mentioned before, 90% of the population, Jamaican population, speaks this language. The Jamaican government does not recognize Jamaican Patois as an official language in the country. And the most common reasoning with the government is the fact that, other than the pre-colonial rules, English is considered to be the official language in Jamaica, given the fact that Jamaica was colonized by the British colony. And so for the Jamaican government, it believes that once it makes the Jamaican Patois an official language in Jamaica, it will have to incur further costs, that is translating all the administration rules and law to Jamaican Patois, which will add an extra cost to the government. And other than that, the Jamaican government still wants to make English the official language, as they believe that once Patois will gain its popularity or will be recognized as a national language, English would actually fade. And this would put it at a very delicate point, given the fact that English is a widely known language that would enable Jamaica to actually make its international relations, trade, and recognition. And they believe that once Jamaican Patois takes the place of English, Jamaica would lose this advantage that English has provided it while trading with other countries, or while having this supposed international acknowledgement of English. And so, according to linguists, what is happening to Jamaican Patois is what is known as the historical linguistic discrimination, also known as glottophobia. And you're getting to see that the Jamaican Patois, despite of the fact that it has actually been proven to be a very unique language of its own, is still being discriminated and biased in Jamaica, mainly due to the colonial hangover, institutional classism, and the systemic linguistic bias that is still very active in Jamaica. And English is actually recognized as a measure of intellect, and anyone who can actively express him or herself in English is actually viewed to be very intellectual. And they're looking at the Jamaican Patois as being a local dialect that is mostly used by the poor people in Jamaica, and it's only popular in street talk and entertainment purposes. And we're getting to see that music genres like reggae and dancehall have actually made the Jamaican Patois to be an international brand that has actually been recognized and has gained massive impact worldwide. And so seeing the language being rejected in its country of birth is something that is still quite disturbing and unfortunate at the same time. And so getting again to see that the government is encouraging or is open to allow the use of foreign languages from former European colonizers like the Spanish use in parliament, while at the same time rejecting the use of Patois, simply goes to show the deep colonial hangover that is still very present in Jamaica, and the actual attempt of trying to retain the Britishness that the British Empire has had in Jamaica. Well, this again marks the end of this episode. Kindly don't forget to share your thoughts and ideas with me in the comment section. Thank you once again for watching to this end, and see you in the next episode.